Oh, yeah. You just tuned in to the ENDstream. Welcome, everybody. Here we are at NTV, and we're simultaneously streaming on YouTube, on Rumble, on Kick. Our socials are on Instagram. You can find us on X as well, TikTok, and Discord, of course. And we are a channel about global issues. We cover geopolitics, current events, culture, and social dynamics. We are the raw, rational, and humanistic analysis of the world. Like, we don't have any sides, but we have a human side, we have the just side. So if something is humanistic or feels real or feels that, it's down to earth and it represents most people and not just like the few elite or whatever, we're on your side. So our side is the humanistic side. It's not left or right or anything like that. And we tell it how it is. And we try to be critical about everything that's going on. So today, actually, let me show you okay, here is our YouTube channel. We have a lot of stuff going on. We also have shorts. Here is the live stream section. And on Thursdays at 5 p.m. CET, I am doing this ENDstream. It's called the ENDstream because it's NTV. And so, yeah, I do this ENDstream on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Central European Time. And my co-host Bird does it on Tuesday around 5 p.m. Central European Time as well. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, we've got you covered about the latest things going on in the world today. And so if you think about news, everything is dramatic. I mean, that's the world that we live in, but we don't want to cover news. We want to cover global issues. We want to cover real stories that represent the people. So here is our Rumble. Here's our Kick. Oops. There I am. Edgeception. I'm your host, Edge. And here's our Instagram. We have a lot of shorts and stuff. Our X. And our TikTok. All right. So without further ado, I'm just going to get right into it. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I would like to thank my co-host, Bird, who's probably in the channel. Oh, yeah. Let's go. Let's go. I can see the comment. Let's go. All right. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about Henry Nowak, a stabbing in the UK, but there was also a stabbing in Northern Ireland as well. It's important not to get confused with all of them. And hey, Bird, I can see your comment. And so, yeah, we're going to cover the UK. So England and Northern Ireland. And then we're going to talk about Germany and what's going on with the UN. Like, why aren't they on the Security Council and what it means? We'll also talk a bit about what's going on the other side of the world. I'm talking not so much Asia, but more like South Africa, what's going on there, because we got some recommendation of what to cover news, like from our Discord channel. So I urge everyone to get in Discord, give us some recommendations of what to cover, and we'll cover it. And this one was from one of our fellow group members called Oswald. Thanks for that, by the way. He provided a lot of tips also regarding what's going on in the UK and the importance of like what's going on in Germany at the moment regarding the economy and demographics and all that. So we'll also cover UK farmers. What's up with that? I'm sure you've seen Jeremy Clarkson's farms and everything, but what's going on with the government? All right. Yep, that's true. That's true. I can see in the comments. You can find a lot what's going on in Discord. There's a lot of information over there. I'll also be talking about something very controversial. Disclaimer. And it's something I would never have thought I would ever talk about or have to talk about in my life, because I don't really have anything to do with it. But it's fascism. And we've all heard people on the left, on the right, you're a fascist, you're a fascist, fascist, fascist. All right, I better be careful with how many times I talk about this word on YouTube. I don't want to get banned, but we're going to be talking about it in a rational way, a bit like the history of it and how its meaning, how its terminology has kind of changed, even though words shouldn't really change meaning. And we'll also be talking about, the previous president of the US, Joe Biden. A lot of people call him Creepy Joe for different reasons, but we'll be talking about his son. I don't know if he has more than one son. He's called Hunter Biden. I don't know if he's a hunter, but we'll figure out what's up with him, what's going on in the world with him. And we'll also be covering a bit of SpaceX and what's going on with the stock exchange, but not in a boring way, not in a like that will make you fall asleep. So we'll be talking about SpaceX and why everybody's investing in that. And then we'll talk a bit about something that came out yesterday, some revelation that maybe the US government has proof on aliens. Not my words, but that's what somebody else said. Somebody credible, actually, and a lot of witnesses within the government. All right. Oops. All right, let's get into everything.
As the former governor of California, my home state.
So this is an old video, but I find it relevant to show for what's going to come next.
California's been in the headlines. Obviously, there have been these huge protests of President Trump's immigration policies.
Okay, this is the governor, right? We all know who he is. And this happened maybe months ago or half a year ago or something like that.
He threatened to potentially arrest Gavin Newsom if he didn't comply.
And this is on loose women.
Governor, right?
This is on loose women in the States. All these women like talking among each other and Whoopi Goldberg and all that. And we know she's had some controversial views and stuff, but let's see what Arnie has to say.
And so this number one.
This is about immigration, by the way.
Number two, the most
and he is originally Austrian who went to the States, by the way.
Important thing is to create immigration reform, because all of this is happening because we don't have immigration reform. For decades now, this country has needed immigration reform, which means that we recognize the fact there's people in the south of America that want to come north to work, and that we therefore should supply them with enough visas so they can come, because we need those workers.
So it's important to bring in workers and people who want to work, but it's also important to be able to accommodate them in the first place with jobs and healthcare and all that stuff.
So this is the bottom line, because then we would know who is here. We will be able to get rid of the criminal elements that,
like somebody commented, get to the chopper.
They're here and all of this stuff, so we wouldn't be in a mess that we're in right now. So this is my way of saying always, Democrats and Republicans have to come together and solve this issue if they really want to be public servants.
Yeah. It's not a left or right issue.
Party servants and be party hacks and be tied to their ideology, then it won't happen. Yeah. But if you want to make this country better, and if you want to improve this country and improve the situation of people's lives and bring the prices down and all of this, you will go and serve the people of America. This is what it is. If you're a public servant.
All right, so that's what he said. And basically in another segment somewhere else, it's not in this video, but he also made sure to say that he was from Austria, and that when you are in another country, you kind of act a bit as a guest and you do as people there do. It's like, I can't go to another country, India or Saudi Arabia or something like that, and do whatever I want. You kind of have to be respectful to local customs. Culture is a big thing that we talk about on this channel, and it's very important. So why am I bringing this up? Well, let's move on. Let's find out.
Political controversy on both sides of the Atlantic. Britain's Deputy Prime Minister, David Lammy, said on Sunday Now, he had told US Vice President J.D. Vance he was wrong to blame immigration for the death of 18-year-old Henry Nowak. Lamy described the...
First of all, I love it that the US government has their opinion on what's going on in the UK.
An agreeable conversation.
Okay, so this guy, David Lammy, he's like the vice prime minister thing. Like they have a vice president in the US. I think he's like right under Keir Starmer.
But I wanted to make him clear that I disagree with some of the facts that he was asserting, and to present the facts to him.
Well, to understand why this has become an international flashpoint, you need to understand what happened. On the night of December 3rd last year, Henry Nowak was an 18-year-old Polish-British university student in his first year studying accountancy at the University of Southampton. He was walking in the area of Belmont Road when he encountered Vikram Digwa, a 23-year-old British Sikh man. Digwa stabbed Nowak 5 times using a knife. When police arrived, Digwa falsely accused Nowak of assault and racist abuse.
Now, we've previously talked about knife crime in Europe, especially in the UK. In the UK, guns aren't allowed. Knives, well, it seems like the youth today have like knives on them. I don't know what's going on. To even buy a pair of nail clippers or just some nail clippers, you need to be over a certain age. It's come to the point of lunacy, like insanity. What is going on? Okay, fine, whatever. So let's move on. So here apparently is the real footage. This is from a channel on X, Suella Braverman. I'm saying that, so I'm showing that I'm not making this up.
My dad's told me. He keeps dropping side to side, so I'm just trying to keep him set up. He's got a mouthful of blood. I don't want him.
I can't breathe. He was on the bin on the other side of this gate.
He's jumped over these fences and stuff like that. And
Right.
he's up
Move
here.
away, mate.
He's obviously fallen
Right.
from there and he slipped from there.
There's other shoes left over there, mate. What's your name, mate? Huh? Has anyone been hurt other than him?
Yeah, me. He's grabbed my brother. He's took my turban off. Started grabbing my head.
Are you
like
injured?
that. Yeah, I've got swollen eye, little bruise.
All right, just step back a little bit for me. Someone flag these down. Right? This does.
In the face.
Beef then.
So yeah.
Saying to him, keeping him honest.
We've got this male. He's
Just-
been.
All right, so this guy was basically stabbed many times, and basically the police are handcuffing not the person who stabbed him, but this guy who was stabbed, and basically they're pushing him down. And it kind of reminds us of what's his name, George Floyd in the States or something. I'm not saying these guys might not be completely innocent. However, it poses the question on police whether they're handling the situation correctly or if they're pushing the guy too much. Over here, The Guardian says, 2 men jailed for violence at protest over police treatment of Henry Nowak. So the thing is that it's not just about that secluded incident. It's blown out of proportion. Now we're getting riots, violence, smoke grenades. Seems Southampton, well, actually that incident took place in Southampton, and seems like some people were sentenced to 3 years and 1 month after throwing smoke grenades at officers. Someone else hurled a traffic cone, and they were jailed for 2 years and 8 months. And yeah, so there were riots. There's this article from Brussels Signal. What killed Nowak? 1 murderer and all the malignancy of collective self-hate. So over here it says, so it's turned into a cult of self-hate of Western civilization. So for some reason, okay, the perpetrator was of Sikh religion. I think they can carry a dagger on them. I'm not sure. And I'm not sure if that should be allowed in society or something, but people are making it into like a religious issue or an immigrant issue, because worldwide we're having issues by countries that cannot accommodate immigrants. And of course, there is a psychological issue on migrants and on locals, and something isn't right. I mean, locals are having it tough with jobs and everything, let alone how are migrants going to deal with everything? It's tough. It's tough. Like there is an issue. There is a reason why these things are happening, and this reason is not being questioned. Over here, we have an article from a site called thefederalist.com. Britain's censorship regime was always going to get people like Henry Nowak killed. Censorship regime. All right, let's have a look about that. So it says British law enforcement turned a blind eye to imported scandals like the now infamous are like grape gangs, in which predominantly Pakistani Muslim men abuse young British girls. Now, I don't know about this, but if it's true, it's very concerning what's going on. And I mean, these stories, even if I report on them, it's going to sound like I'm the biggest racist in the world, but I'm not. And it's not about me. It's like, what is actually going on? I mean, sure, maybe these things are also happening with people from the country, but they're also reporting on from people of other countries doing these crimes. And all right, let's continue. Here we have another article from The Guardian. How did the notion of two-tier policing evolve, and does it really exist? Now, two-tier policing, as far as I understand, is that basically white people and people of other colors, maybe Asian or African or whatever, maybe they treat people differently. Like, does it exist? I mean, there's a term for it, which I didn't know about before today, looking this up. And it's very concerning. And people are saying, are there any truths to these? And there have been a lot of videos on YouTube of people asking the question, what is going on? Like some people are saying, oh, there's white privilege, but then other people are saying it's nonsense. But then other people are saying, well, maybe non-whites shouldn't have committed crimes. But I'm telling you guys, crimes are done by people of all colors, but especially people who have it bad or need psychological help. We have a great comment saying, in truth, the police departments need a total reform, along with many institutions, healthcare, judicial. Absolutely. Absolutely. Everything has a narrative when pushed by the media, and then there's a political motive too. Yep, I agree with that. Political motives. And to be honest, we have people, let's say, especially from the left, who might want to bring in immigrants from like refugees and stuff from war-torn countries. And I understand that, but it's difficult to accommodate them. Yes, regardless of race or sex. Like we've had incidents, especially in Europe, where we get refugees and for some reason they're all men willing to work. They don't bring women or children. And maybe it's just to send money back home, but it's a bit strange. So there are endless articles about these things. Here's one from Spiked, why we should rage against two-tier policing. And there's another article. Oh no, we saw this one before.
Keir Starmer has condemned protesters' attacks on police in Southampton as completely unacceptable. Violent protests broke out on Tuesday over...
All right, so we have Keir Starmer mentioning it as well. But Keir Starmer also said he was a good kid. How does he know he's a good kid? I'm just saying, it's just politically motivated.
We'll look at whether any act or omission by police or delay in treatment caused or contributed to the death of an 18-year-old Henry Nowak, who was fatally stabbed in December. 2 men have been charged with violent disorder and assaulting a police officer.
All right, so it just keeps going on.
and his accomplices used their race as a way of trying to deflect suspicion from their crime. How did you feel when you heard that?
We have a big issue of people using race as the victim card. Like, it undermines real incidences of proper racism. Like, if something is not about race, don't claim it to be about race. Like, I've seen some cases that are not like racial, and it's like straight away, oh, you're being a racist. But other incidences are. But even those are like undermined because they're not taken seriously, because other ones are a bit of a mix-up. So the best lies are ones mixed with the truth. Just be careful.
Sickening. They lied. And in the end, what they breached was Henry's respect, the human dignity of life.
Basically everyone.
They then manipulated the situation by bringing race into the context, which was clearly a lie. Now, clearly, the court saw.
Or the biggest issue is like immigration. Now that murderer was, even though he was Sikh, he was probably of Indian, like second generation or something. But people are concerned about immigration. Nevertheless, people are thinking, oh, maybe they don't have the same cultures. You know, we're all brought up. A big part of where we come from is our home, our upbringing, our parents. Over here on BBC, from less than a day ago, it says 5 jailed for violence at Henry Nowak police protest. Then we have this one here, a lot of people rioting, send them home. All right, so if you notice, it says people here are chanting about the Henry Nowak case and the Belfast knife attack. All right, so let's move on to that real quick. I don't want to dwell too much because we have a lot to say about it. So in Belfast, there was another stabbing, unfortunately, and riots.
Police in Belfast rush people to safety as homes and cars are set on fire by anti-immigration protesters in Northern Ireland. Many of them were young people, clad in...
All of them were young people. I don't think any old person could run. All these people are kind of in agreement of how to dress. They have the same dress code. It seems like they shop at the same place.
In black with their faces covered. They even attacked a bus.
These guys even had the same coats. Look, this guy and this guy.
Attacked a bus.
And this guy.
I saw, particularly in these two streets, just violence.
Violence. All right. How the Belfast stabbing was the spark to a fuse loaded with grievance and provocation. So over here, within a few minutes of the footage going online of a black man stabbing a white man, there was a sense of inexorability to what came next in Northern Ireland. And then they talk about social media. So apparently a 30-year-old Sudanese refugee appeared in Belfast Magistrates Court charged with attempted murder. So likely he probably did it. But look at this. I get the murder. Well, I don't get the murder. But what's up with all these riots? What's up with all these riots? So is that the reason? Is that how you react to a murder? You just burn a city down. And this applies to most places in Europe. People are finding absolutely any excuse, be it football or murders or anything like that, just to destroy and loot a city. Again, Le Monde, Belfast stabbing suspect in court after night of violent protest. What is going on? Like, I'm sure there's a bigger issue at hand. It's not just about the murder. Sure, the murder is bad, but burning a city down to the ground, is that your justice? Here, another site, El País. Violence erupts against immigrants in Belfast following attempted beheadings. So let's keep reading. Beheadings? Let's figure this out together. What beheading? What happened? All right, so again, a 30-year-old man, Sudanese origin, attempted to decapitate a neighbor in North Belfast with a kitchen knife. The victim in his 40s has lost an eye and remains in the hospital in serious condition with injuries to his face, neck, and back. So we've had 2 cases of stabbings in the head, in the face. Like, what is going on?
Now let's go overseas to where a violent anti-immigration protest has erupted in Northern Ireland after a brutal stabbing. Authorities say a man from Sudan attacked another man with a kitchen knife on a
But that guy with the kitchen knife didn't burn the city to the ground.
Street in Belfast. Video of the attack went viral and there were calls on social media for demonstrations. Protesters said,
Is this a train or a tram or a bus? Like, look at it. Like, look at this. It doesn't make any
homes
sense.
and vehicles on fire, blocking roads even. Police are urging calm. They say
So let me get this straight. We have the police or the fire department spraying these people with water, and these people are using a trash can to move forward. Don't people have anything better to do with their time? Like, I find it difficult to have free time on my own. You know, I'm busy with work and stuff and paying bills. What are these guys doing with their lives? Look at how many vehicles are here. It's like a scene from Resident Evil.
Chaos has erupted in Belfast after a sickening attack. A man in his 40s was pinned down in the streets before being stabbed in his eyes, his back, his face.
What's very sad about the immigration...
All right.
Exactly what was hoped wouldn't.
Again.
Well, that hasn't played out.
All right, let's move on. Let's move on. We saw what happened. It's terrible.
Big dreams start
Sorry,
small.
guys.
At GoDaddy, we help you take.
Malawi has become the latest country to announce it will repatriate its citizens from South Africa. The announcement follows anti-immigration protests in South Africa that turned violent last weekend. The victims, mostly from Malawi and Mozambique, reported mobs of South African locals burning houses and attacking foreigners in the coast of South Africa.
So basically, we know South Africa has a long history with racism and immigrants and all this stuff. And to be honest, the biggest immigrants there, the most obvious ones, are the white guys. Hate to say it, the white guys with the diamonds. But slavery was on all fronts in history. Like I know slave traders and stuff that were of black race handing over their own people to the white people, let's say to the redcoats, the British in America, or to Belgium, or to Dutch, or to other colonies as well. I mean, racism is bad. People are trying to make a better life for themselves, be it legal or not. I get it. I mean, you can see the situation in France, in Calais, like trying to get over and to break into trucks to go to the UK. So basically, this piece of news is saying that a lot of people who went to South Africa, be it from Malawi or Mozambique, in fact, Mozambique is one of the poorest countries. However, they are, if not one of the biggest diamond producers. Correct me if I'm wrong. So there's a bit of unfairness over there. So we have a lot of people from Malawi and Mozambique who went to South Africa, but there's a lot of anti-immigration sentiment in South Africa. So they're basically kicking the people out. I mean, there's violence, and the people, their own countries are trying to bring
Hundreds of anti-migrant protesters marched through a township outside Johannesburg on Monday in the latest sign of growing tensions over immigration in South Africa. Similar demonstrations have been reported across the country as vigilante groups.
All right. I don't think there's anything else to say apart from that. Let's move on to other news. Here's from Reuters. Something happened with the UN, United Nations, and Germany. So apparently, Germany misses out from being elected to UN Security Council.
Zimbabwe, 182. Trinidad and Tobago, 181. Guyana, 1. Portugal, 134.
Is this all about the money? Is that why they're cheering?
Austria, 131.
It's like Eurovision.
Having obtained the required two-thirds majority and the largest number of votes. Austria, Portugal, Trinidad and Zimbabwe. Beginning on 100.
All right. So basically, the United Nations General Assembly on Wednesday elected Austria, Kyrgyzstan, Portugal, Trinidad and Tobago, and Zimbabwe to the 15-member UN Security Council for a 2-year term starting 1st of January of 27. Germany, which had lobbied hard for a seat, came third for the 2 places contested by the Western European and Others group with 104 votes against 134 for Portugal and 131 for Austria. So basically, what does this mean? What does it mean? Over here, another site says, Europe's old powers are losing their diplomatic grip, and Germany just proved it. Germany lost its bid to become a non-permanent member of the UN Security Council. In the race to recant, well, we know what happened with all of them. Let's move on. Portugal and Austria defeat Germany for seats. Defeat, what is this, Mortal Kombat? So basically, it's 10 rotating seats on a 15-member Security Council. And there's a secret ballot, blah, yada, yada, yada. There have been decades of efforts to reflect the geopolitical realities of the current world. And what does this mean? What is going on? All these sites are reporting on this. It sounds like a huge blow to
every delegation has voted.
All right, let's move on.
Germany's Foreign Minister Johann Wadepool described losing out to Portugal and Austria for a seat on the UN Security Council as a bitter defeat. He blamed Russia, a permanent member, for the loss over Germany's support for Ukraine and argued,
well, maybe Germany and Merz shouldn't bring back the military and send people off to Lithuania. Like, why do you bring back the draft? Why are you spending money to the military industrial complex instead of looking out for your own people? Have you seen the cost of energy lately? Have you seen the situation with hospitals in Germany, the healthcare that Bismarck implemented all those years ago? Like, read a book, like look it up, understand what's going on in your country, understand what your people need. And like, if you can't look after yourself, how are you going to look after anyone else? Over here, The Guardian from the 4th of June, embarrassing. Pressure on Merz after Germany's failure to win UN Security Council seat. And then here it says, Germany's unprecedented failure to win one of the rotating seats in the UN Security Council has prompted an intense round of soul-searching in Berlin and raised questions about its claims to international leadership. Over here, like a completely different website that I've never seen before, the Beiruter. They even report on it. Inside Germany's Security Council defeat, Germany fails to win their seats. And it's a historic diplomatic setback for Merz. And yeah. Let's move on to other stories. I don't want to dwell too much on things because we have to keep the ball rolling. So if you have, I think it's on Amazon Prime. Yeah, it says Amazon Original. There's Jeremy Clarkson, known for Top Gear, and what was the other one from America? Top Gear. It's the one after Jeremy Clarkson was removed from Top Gear. Then he was on the Grand Tour. That's it. After the Grand Tour, he was on Clarkson's farm. You know, he's like old McDonald. But the thing is when this started, Jeremy Clarkson didn't know anything about farms. And he had some help from this other guy, Caleb. Let me move myself. Caleb over here, who's this kid. But apparently he knows a lot about farms. And Clarkson only knew a lot about cars. And like I remember the first episode, which I think maybe was the only one that I saw, he was in this huge tractor that couldn't even fit into this, it's kind of like an airplane hangar building, like a farm, like a barn, a big barn, but he couldn't fit it in because obviously, you know, he doesn't compute. All right, so let's move on. Why is this relevant? So this post from somebody called Jay Stewart on X. Jeremy Clarkson rips into Keir Starmer and truly useless labor over farming crisis. So Jeremy Clarkson apparently has his own farm, and but over the years, Jeremy Clarkson is kind of understanding the viewpoint of farmers because he's being approached by a lot of people in the community, and he's also researching stuff for himself. However, I'd like to say that Jeremy Clarkson is probably one of the richest people in entertainment. I mean, good for him, but let's have a look.
There's one part in particular that seems to be doing very well with the young farmers. That I do know. I mean, Caleb tells me all of his.
So the main parties in the UK are the Conservatives, which are also called the Tories, and Labour, which are kind of like the equivalent of the Liberals of the US. However, there's one party that we haven't really talked about much.
Friends, all of them are Reform.
Reform. He said that Caleb's friends are Reform. Reform is Nigel Farage's party in the UK. Nigel Farage, known for Brexit, known for being the evil man. And yeah, that's what the EU deemed him as. Yes, that's right. His new party he originally started was UKIP, exactly, UKIP, that's it.
And I don't think there's a farmer alive who's Labour anymore. Beyond that, I couldn't really say what anybody else is thinking.
Seems like everybody's against Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer. So let me have a look a bit about what's going on. And all right, over here. So this change is mainly aimed at very wealthy landowners. This is from my own research, not ordinary people. From April 26th, the UK government, it's all about thresholds. It only lets the first £2.5 million of farmland or business assets pass on tax-free. With anything above that, partly taxed. Now, Jeremy Clarkson has strongly criticized it, arguing both publicly and through his Amazon series, Clarkson Farm, that farms and land rich, but farms are land rich, very big farms, but they're very cash poor. You need a lot of money to maintain them, and a lot of things happen. And heirs may be forced to sell land just to pay tax. And this is the case in most European countries. Somebody inherits land or a house, and they don't have the money to pay tax, even the bare tax on it. So people are like, I don't want this. I don't want to inherit extra burdens or costs. And it hurts real working farms rather than elites, even though you can say 2.5 million is a lot of money. Politically, this has also been awkward for Keir Starmer because the backlash from farmers and rural voters feeds a wider narrative that Labour is disconnected from rural Britain, even though the policy is meant to target tax avoidance in the richest estates. Now, the UK, especially London, is known for services. They don't really produce anything. However, there are still farmers making things like potatoes and lettuces and God knows what. So over here is this Caleb guy. He has some very funny videos. I didn't know about him since, well, I saw his video today. Here is Nigel Farage. And he says, they even talk about Jeremy Clarkson on this site called Unheard. And they again talk about the support of labor decreasing, especially among farmers. Other sites are saying, is Britain getting a new prime minister? And they're talking about different elections and things. And here is the agricultural property relief reform change thing, just to get more tax from everyone. Over here is Reform UK's website.
There have been many farms that have closed, I think, in the last 14 months. And there has been some seriously horrendous stories about potentially some farmers ending their lives early to circumvent the implementation of the tax.
It's reached to that point where people are taking their own lives just to not be taxed.
Made them a little bit cross again.
Yes. I mean, it's an extraordinary way to end the year, Rod, actually. I mean, what we're talking about is for those listeners that, have been busy enjoying family life at Christmas and may not have caught up with the news. We've had this major U-turn on the inheritance tax, the so-called farm tax from the Prime Minister. He's finally just...
That was actually, this video is from months ago before it was implemented.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
Just looking, I think this is more than for Ken Griffin. So you've done well. Everyone's...
These are just aberrations. These are short-term. I remember Tony Blair saying these are sort of short thing about our tax.
If you struggle with folk.
Okay, so that was Nigel Farage. Basically, he's against all these reforms and everything, and obviously he's saying that Labour is taking advantage of everyone, which they are. But to be honest, it doesn't really matter what party you're on. If you're left or right, you can still be corrupt. So let's move on to something completely different. Completely different. And let's go back in time. Let's rewind. Yes, I see a comment. Farage is against reforms, but is leading the Reform Party. No. He is for reform. He is for changing the system. That's right. He's there for changing the system. What I meant by, it doesn't matter if you're left or right. Well, I don't know. I don't know how he would run the country. Like, it's too early for me to judge. Like, the only thing Farage is saying is that he's against the current system. However, if he was voted in, I don't know what would happen, to be honest. To be honest with you, he could be exactly the same or he could be different. The only thing I know is that he's hated, and that could be a good thing. That could be a good thing. Over here on NTV, we don't take any sides. Like, it sounds like we're against the current establishment and everything, which we kind of are. But it doesn't mean that, automatically we're for the other side. I mean, just because we're humanitarian, doesn't mean that, whatever. Okay, so let me move on with this. So let me rewind a bit. Who is this guy? Leif Erikson. So this has nothing to do with your Ericsson old mobile phones or Sony Ericsson before it was Sony or anything like that. So you think, Eric, who is this Ericsson? He's the son of Eric. It reminds me of Scandinavian names, Johansson, like Scarlett Johansson, like Swedish names and all this stuff. So yeah, close. So this guy was from Iceland. Iceland? Yep, it's this island over here, which is closer to Greenland than to the UK or Scandinavia.
What you talking about? What you talking about? What you talking about?
That's right. What you talking about? So, who's Leif Erikson? Leif Erikson, also known as Leif the Lucky, between 970 and 1025. That's like 1,000 years ago, was a Norse explorer who is thought to have been the first European to set foot on continental America. The first European to set his foot on continental America. So who's this Columbus guy then? Like, coming in 400 years later. But I also know, what about the Chinese cartographers many years before that? But let's not get into that. But he's the first European. That's the point. This is the issue. So, back in the days of Vikings, they had ships and they were merchants. And kind of like the Merchant of Venice, but like back then, but with Vikings and everything, like sailing the world. So yeah, he was the first one to set foot on America. So he also founded the first Norse settlement in Greenland, funny enough. So I just thought that could be a bit interesting for you guys to know, general knowledge. So let's move on to pop culture. So you probably see this meme. This is from Futurama. He says, "Can't tell if ice, ice, baby," or "under pressure." And you probably know this is the bass line. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Let's have a look.
Now is a very blonde guy from suburban Miami Lakes, Florida, who calls himself Vanilla Ice. His debut single, Ice Ice Baby, bulleted at number 4 on this week's Billboard chart, has an admittedly...
And I don't like music that stands out. Recently, when MC Hammer used the bass, it's not the same.
It's not the same. All right, let's move on.
Are you planning a trip to Iceland this year and wondering when to go, what to pack, and how much it'll cost? Whether you're chasing the Northern Lights, road tripping around the country,
I'm getting at something with this. I'm not just, posting all these things together.
or relaxing in a hot spring, this video has everything you need to know to plan your trip.
So it's summer. Chances are, if you're in Europe or in some other places, it's getting hot, like in the Northern Hemisphere, and you might want to get out to cool off a little.
And make sure to stick around until the end because I've written summer is between June and August, and the pros of visiting in summer is that you have 24-hour daylight, definitely the northern
Is a pro having 24-hour daylight? I'd probably close the curtains.
lights, being able to visit the natural ice.
The Northern Lights. Love that. So, Iceland has some great sites. Okay, it's kind of deserted. It has some green stuff, has lots of ice and stuff. So here we have this post on Reddit. Iceland, too expensive. Spent 10 days, not worth it. Should have stayed less. Some waterfalls are amazing, but after 5 to 6 of them, it gets boring. Some lands seem like deserts, not for me. Love the puffins and whales and the glaciers. Who doesn't love animals? Food is okay, but crazy expensive. I think in Hofna at Pakahus, I had one of the best meal of my life, but the rest is just average, if not below average, and just expensive. So we have a lot of comments saying that Iceland isn't for everyone. It's very expensive, yada, yada, yada. It has a lot of volcanoes. And we know Iceland from their economic crisis, kind of when Greece had the economic crisis back around 2008. And there's like huge case studies where they rejected the banks over there. Now, the problem at the moment is that whoever goes to Iceland finds it extremely expensive to buy anything. Then again, Iceland is an island in the middle of nowhere. They probably don't produce anything and they have to import everything, which makes everything very expensive. So all the tourists who go there are like, what did I get myself into? Why are the portions so small? Why is everything extravagantly expensive?
To food and beverage. If you're not careful, this can take up a big majority of your budget. But don't worry, with
like as if it's Japan or something.
fish pie.
Really good. It's like a warm tuna salad.
7 out of 10. Lamb soup, $25. Yada yada. So these people are buying these things.
This is the best one.
Like clearly tourists.
What is that? It's good.
Total for 2 people for a few meals, $167 US. Okay, for 2 people in Iceland, $167. Is this normal? So Iceland also has a long history of being kind of against the government, and back like over here, this is an article from September 24th, which talks about their pirate party, which is launching a legislative bill to ban commercial whaling. This is very important, like environmentally. Now, the pirate party became very big about 10 years ago in Iceland. Like they're very against the government and everything. Now, what people might not realize is that, we talk about Iceland, but in fact, Iceland is not a member of the EU. It's not a member of the European Union. It could be part of Europe, but not part of the European Union. And it has never been an official member. Now, Iceland formally applied for EU membership in 2009, but suspended negotiations in 2013 and withdrew the application entirely in 2015. However, Iceland remains highly integrated with Europe as a member of the European Free Trade Association, the European Economic Area, EEA, and the Schengen area, which is kind of the best of both worlds. However, what is going on now? What is important? The current situation is that Iceland is preparing to hold a national referendum on August 29, 2026 to decide whether to officially reopen those EU membership negotiations. So Iceland is having talks about talking whether they should be in the EU. An article from Associated Press, Iceland seeks vote in August on whether to restart EU membership talks. Why would anybody do this? They already have the benefits of free trade, free travel. I mean, they don't have the European currency, but why on earth would anyone want to be part of the EU? For defense? Because they're close to Greenland? What is going on? And it says the proposal must be approved by Iceland's parliament, the Alþingi, before the vote can happen. The decision for the fiercely independent Arctic island nation with a population of just 400,000 comes as concerns grow about geopolitical instability and economic pressures. So Prime Minister Frostadottir center-left coalition government elected in 24 had said it wanted to hold a vote by 27, but sped up that timetable after US President Donald Trump threatened to take over neighboring Greenland. Trump several times referred to Greenland as Iceland. Oh no. During a heated international spat about the president's aim of acquiring vast Arctic territory. So everything is all about security. It's all about everything.
Well, I mean, it's the European Union's fundamental myth that it is an ever-expanding union, almost like an empire, like the Roman Empire was built on the permanent conquest at one point. But obviously, it's resonating very well with Brussels elites that somebody wants to join them.
Who?
But if you look at Iceland wanted to.
Who are these people making the decisions for 400,000 population of the island? Who's making these decisions? Who's opening these talks? Why are you doing this to these people?
Join the European Union. The last hot phase was during the financial crisis in 2008, 9, 10, when Iceland basically.
I like he said financial crisis in 8, 9, 10, because this thing is never ending. We still have it today.
Basically went by bankrupt. Then it was solved. And then after.
Iceland is a perfect case study of a country that turned the tables around. It's not like Greece, who have like endless bailouts and everything. No matter how heroic they make it seem that Greece is the best country, doing well and everything. See the official statistics and ask any Greek person and see the things. Greece is the lowest, poorest country in Europe. It was made an example of by the EU Central Bank. They impoverished the country with bailouts and taxes and everything, with fake stability pacts. Look up stability pacts and lies and everything, because every country has to make these reports and send them to the EU, which these reports were fudged, and the EU knew this. And Italy has done the same thing, like they fudged the numbers. And the EU just accepts things and gives out big loans that they shouldn't. It's like if a beggar comes to me and asks me, can you loan me 10,000 euros? First of all, I don't have 10,000 euros. But even if I had 10,000 euros, would I loan it to somebody who doesn't have the money? And it doesn't matter if they tell me if they have the money. What is going on? What is going on? Like, it's not these countries that are solely to blame. It's the politicians of all countries and the people in the European Union, and it goes for many countries around the world as well. So, yeah, that's right. My co-host Bird is saying this was the second greatest incident that affected our and future generations since the first. And the first being 9/11, which was disastrous because every single reform and change is in the name of security for our benefit. This is how it's sold. And yeah, that's right. We have a comment saying they bail out the bankers and special interests, but if this was to any average citizen, they'd be thrown in jail. Exactly. I'm completely with you, because if I did anything wrong, I'd be sent to jail. But these bankers, they kind of bankrupt everyone. And instead of taking them to court or to jail or anything, they are rewarding them.
They didn't need the EU as a cash cow anymore. They basically suddenly discovered that it comes with huge negatives, because Iceland is an island in the middle of the Atlantic. It comes with huge territorial waters. And the EU, for example, loves to regulate fisheries. And they discovered, oh, that's not so beneficial for us. So the fundamental dynamics were negative, only the specific situation. And as I understood currently, it's the same as in Norway, as you say. There's a new Icelandic government that is very Europhile in its approach. So they love to
When they mean Icelandic, they probably mean the government being Europhile. Just because the people might like Europe doesn't mean they want to be part of it. Doesn't mean they want to be part of the EU. Let me make that clear. So they're talking about the EU having interest in fisheries. Fisheries being a huge industrial, how can I say? They export cod, okay? They export cod from Iceland to other countries, for example, okay? And, you know, probably when in England, they're like, oh, I want my fish and chips. Likely the cod might be from there. I know a lot of codfish is from Iceland. They also have a big ass volcano there. But aside from that, it's all about interest, and it kind of goes hand in hand with the pirate party and like anti-whaling thing going on. And let me make this clear. Generations of the past are dying off. And like, I am middle-aged and we are going to replace them. I'm just saying. So over here we have a site, a government of Iceland, and they kind of make a joke, and they keep, oh, okay, hang on. Anyway, they're basically saying that these talks were put on ice, like for a few years. However, you know, the government is like pushing for interest. It makes it seem like these politicians were paid off by the EU and stuff. Iceland's foreign minister fears Brexit moment in EU accession referendum. Well, of course, people are going to be annoyed. Oops. And what else?
Icelandic Prime Minister has been very clear that there would have to be exception made for some Icelandic interests if they are to join the European Union as well. But definitely fisheries has been a sticking point between the European Union and Iceland for a long time.
Without a complete agreement on fisheries, EU negotiations are a non-starter for Iceland. No government would put a treaty to a referendum in Iceland that does not guarantee full control of Icelanders over its fishing waters. That would be an absolute suicide.
I actually think Iceland, with its fisheries, the deep knowledge and understanding of fisheries, I think Iceland could become a real powerhouse for fisheries in the EU, because we absolutely have that knowledge and understanding.
Go ninja, go ninja, go. Go ninja, go ninja, go. Go ninja, go ninja, go. Go, go, go.
All right. So that's enough for Iceland. That was from Vanilla Ice and his Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 song, which goes Go Ninja Go. But anyway, all right, we talked about Iceland. Now let's talk about dun dun dun. Can I get a sound effect? Thank you very much. All right, what do we have here? That's me, the Green Giant. This site, World War Meme. Chances are, if you were online on the internet, in communities online, you probably knew what was going on. Chances are, if you were not on the internet, you saw on the face of every newspaper, every magazine, people were talking about Donald Trump. Donald Trump, be it negative, be it positive, everybody was talking about Trump, okay? So we had people with different views. And this is something that is quite important to talk about. And how media, how communication has changed through the years. Like now we have internet and people, like for as long as I know, politics was kind of boring. Politics was kind of boring. We didn't really have anything inspirational. I mean, I don't know, like, okay, think about the UK in the time of the Beatles. There were women like fainting and stuff like that, all cheering. Or some could say in around, like before World War II, maybe in some countries, people were cheering for a dictator that was from a neighboring country, some painter guy. I don't know. What? I don't know. I'm just saying. But what I'm saying is that just before Trump's first term, he had something that Hillary didn't have. And this wasn't from him. This was from online communities. And by online communities, I mean the original alt-right. Bear with me. I'm going to elaborate so much. I'm going to elaborate so much on this. So here is a form of communication, because I have a background, okay, in communications and stuff. Now, this is a form of PR. This is a form of PR some experts in history never had. And when we're talking about experts in history, I'm talking about political experts, be it Joseph Goebbels, talking about, you know, weird stuff, but I'll get into that as well. So over here, what does Wikipedia say? Memetic warfare is a modern form of information and psychological warfare that involves the propagation of internet memes on social media. While different, memetic warfare shares similarities to propaganda and misinformation tactics, becoming a more common tool used by government institutions and other groups to influence public opinion. They're saying a common tool by government institutions. What the hell are you talking about? Government institutions do not use these. These are from underground people online. Don't let your memes be dreams. Exactly. That is the Shia LaBeouf thing. Like, don't let, yeah, exactly. All right, let's move on. There are people who write actual reports about this. Over here is escholarship.org, Journal of Right-Wing Studies, University, UC Berkeley. Somebody wrote an article, Limbless Warriors and Foaming Liberals, the allure of post-heroism in far-right memes. Far-right, well, we'll talk about that soon. Abstract, in light of the so-called Great Meme War, so-called, how can it be so-called? I was there, I saw it with my own eyes. A meme-based propaganda campaign waged in favor of Donald Trump's 2016 candidacy. I can guarantee you guys, Donald Trump did not pay for anybody to post memes online, okay? People did it by themselves. This article identifies a type of disembodied far-right meme warrior in inverted commas, that ironically denies longings for heroism. This ambivalent stance towards heroic masculine ideals, which characterizes the meme warriors, self-portrait stands in stark contrast to more serious traditional far-right heroic imaginaries. So it's not about masculinity. Like, Joanna Madge Smith, it's not about masculinity, by the way, University of Leipzig. This phenomenon is discussed in relation to the notion of post-heroic, a concept used in military studies to describe the shrinking willingness and perceived need to sacrifice one's life in combat. How dare you? All right. And here, they even mention the second part of the article explores the construction of ludic collective heroism and the alt-right responses to Shia LaBeouf. He will not divide us. So I think everybody knows that he will not divide us. All right, let's move on. Let's just move on. Meme war in the nets. A conversion between Mark Rees, political slogan and social media channels. Okay, we're having a lot of sites talking about memetic warfare. Another one over here from journals. Another one about meme wars and stuff. Let me just make it a bit bigger so you can see that I'm not. In this, they're also adding something about conservative, feminosi, or the sarcastics. I have to be careful of the words I use if this is going to be on YouTube. So yeah, I might have to change words a bit. Also social justice warriors and stuff. Okay, let's move on. Exactly. We have a comment talking about Pepe Donald on Twitter. Yeah, with the blonde hair.
The Florida Republicans.
So let's have a look at how the left reacted at the end of the election.
Gathered for a victory party, we're being told.
I'm sickened. I'm without words.
And he has his finger on the nuclear button. What does that mean for the world?
Victory was slipping away. Soon the rest of the key switch. Confounded the pollsters and pundits.
It's going to be everything that he says he's going to be. Everybody. I'm just a.
Looks pretty somber.
So we're getting people from both sides being extreme about it. Okay, now on to a more serious note. Okay, have you seen Inglourious Bastards? Chances are you have. And over here is the actor Christoph Waltz. Okay, he is a phenomenal actor, especially in this movie. He plays an SS guy and who is pretty strict. Kind of like Hair Flick, if you've seen Allo Allo, the BBC series from a long time ago. So, you know, he's the typical SS straight guy. Strict. I didn't say straight, but he's probably straight. I don't know. But he's from Austria. Austria, just like another famous guy. Just saying. Seems like they have a lot of charisma over there. It's kind of ironic how Germany was ruled by somebody from a different country. Yet
it's Dan.
Getting all the blame. So here we're going to get into the F word. F word being fascism. Now here's a slight video by somebody called Zimmerman. All right.
Zimmerman, welcome to Illustrate to Educate. Don't forget to like social hierarchy. Subordinate from 1933 suggests strength through unity.
So basically, they're talking about the history of fascism, how it came from Italy and Mussolini and everything like that. So I'm going to put this on silent and I'm going to speak my own mind over here because I've researched some stuff and I'm going to just talk about it all real fast. All right. So first of all, disclaimer. Disclaimer, the following segment is for educational and commentary purposes about fascism, both historically and in how the term is used today. It is not intended to promote or support any political ideology or extremist group. The goal is simply to explore the topic and encourage discussion and understanding. In the mid-2010s, anonymous internet spaces like 4chan's politics boards became unexpected hubs for a new kind of political communication. Instead of traditional debate or campaigning, users spread ideas through irony, humor, and deliberately provocative memes. Over time, Donald Trump became a central figure in this meme ecosystem, not always through sincere political support, but as a symbol of disruption against mainstream politics and media. Content such as Pepe the Frog and other viral images were constantly remixed and shared across platforms like Twitter, Reddit, and Facebook, where they began to escape their original context and enter the broader public discourse. The Politico piece, which I'll show you soon, argues that this meme-driven culture didn't just reflect political change, it helped accelerate it. Online communities like 4chan acted as incubators where political ideas were compressed into simple, emotional, highly shareable formats designed for virality rather than accuracy or persuasion. That's quite important. As these memes spread into mainstream platforms, they began influencing political conversation in subtle but powerful ways, blurring the line between trolling, entertainment, and genuine political messaging. The result was a new media environment where irony and humor became tools for political impact, reshaping how ideas spread through the Trump era. So, talking about fascism, before we talk about fascism in the modern world, we need to understand what it actually was and what it has become in public memory. Because fascism today isn't just about a historical system, it's about a cultural symbol, a political insult, a meme, and a warning label. And that shift matters. Historically, fascism wasn't a vague term for things we dislike. It was specific. It was a political system that emerged post-World War I. Europe and society shattered by economic collapse, humiliation, and instability. In Italy, Benito Mussolini built the first fascist state, promoting national rebirth through authoritarian control, mass rallies, and state propaganda that borrowed heavily from the Roman imagery, symbols of empire, strength, and unity. In Germany, the trauma was even deeper. The aftermath of WW1, World War I, the Treaty of Versailles, economic collapse, and political chaos created the conditions for Adolf Hitler's rise. The Nazis regime didn't just govern, it mobilized, hang on a sec. They mobilized an entire society for war and racial identity, ideology. Racial ideology. Mass propaganda under Joseph Goebbels used repetition, emotional imagery, and symbolism to engineer consent and control perception. Some people call it propaganda. The result was catastrophic. So and it wasn't just internal dictatorship. It became a global destruction. Across World War II, an estimated 70 to 85 million people died. We're talking about the Soviet Union. We're talking about China. We're talking about in Japan, Jewish victims. We're talking about Roma. You know, Roma, like the gypsies or travelers, depending on your terminology. We have a comment from Chorus Bird. Mussolini was originally an international socialist. He was disillusioned by the party in Italy due to World War I. And the lack of national interest and military pride, thus developed fascism. That's right. So fascism wasn't isolated to Germany and Italy. Across Europe, different authoritarian systems emerged. There was Franco's Spain, Salazar's Portugal, Horthy's Hungary, Antonescu's Romania, the Ustaše regime in Croatia, Vichy France, all forms of authoritarian nationalism, many collaborating directly with Nazi Germany. Even outside Europe, Imperial Japan functioned as a militarist empire responsible for mass atrocities across Asia. This wasn't a single country phenomenon because everybody thinks it's Deutschland. It was a global wave of authoritarian war state systems. Inside these systems, entire economies were mobilized for war. German industry included firms like Volkswagen, BMW, Daimler-Benz, Siemens, Bosch, Continental Tires, and chemical conglomerates tied to IG Farben. I'm sure you know that company very well, pharmaceuticals, all operating within state-directed war economy, and even companies like Hugo Boss that we have today, even Porsche with tanks and stuff, in many cases used forced labor from occupied Europe. Porsche's founder, I think he was called Ferdinand, worked on military engineering projects, including early Volkswagen and tank development. Yeah, that's right. IBM's German subsidiary, Dehomag, might be pronouncing that wrong, provided punch card systems used in bureaucratic administration. Some people say they use them for tattooing Jews. I don't know, or cataloging or documenting them. I don't know. But like the first companies for first computers. These companies did not originate as ideological fascist brands in the modern sense, but they operated inside a totalitarian wartime system. I think even Fanta, because Coke was famous in the States, but they needed something in Europe. And I think that's where Fanta came from, the orange one. They operated inside a totalitarian wartime system where industry, state, and war were deeply fused. After 45, many were rebuilt, restructured, continued into the modern global economy. Now, what fascism means now. After World War II, fascism was no longer just a political system, it became a cultural memory. We all hear our grandparents, back in my day in the war, la, 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 la. Or even though a lot of these people have died off now, I hate to say it, but it is what it is. In pop culture, okay, so we're talking about fascism. It appears in films like America History X, with neo-Nazis, in games like Wolfenstein, and shows like The Man in the High Castle, and in Marvel's like Captain America, Hail Hydra, shorthand for hidden authoritarian control. In pop culture, fascism is like visual language, a symbol of domination, abuse, and dehumanization rather than a precise historical system. And in modern politics, the word itself has expanded far beyond its original meaning. Today's fascism is often used less as a strict historical definition and more as a rhetorical weapon or warning label. It's used to describe authoritarian tendencies, nationalism, or perceived threats to democracy, even when the systems being described operate through elections, legal institutions, and pluralistic politics. This creates tension between historical precision and modern political language. We all know people who say Trump is a fascist, or you're a fascist for believing that, or I don't agree with you, so you're a fascist. You're this, you're that. And okay, we already mentioned the memes, and to be honest, with Trump's campaign, it was all about the alt-right, okay? It started with the alt-right. Alt-right at the beginning was all about these memes. It was all about a different type of right. It wasn't extreme right. It wasn't central right. It wasn't any right as we know it. It was an alternative right. It's in the name, alt, okay? Alt means alternative. And then we get figures like Richard Spencer and others who turned it into a more explicit ideological movement tied to organized far-right politics and white nationalist ideals. So what began as a fragmented meme culture gradually hardened into something more politically defined. Because the original alt-right was not meant to be defined. It wasn't meant to be anyone, just like the original Anonymous was not meant to be a certain group of people. It was like here and there. Pepe the Frog became a symbol of something larger, not because the meme itself had a fixed meaning, but because the meaning on the internet kind of changed. Like memes don't stay still, they move, they mutate. And even the guy who made Pepe the Frog, who designed it originally, this French guy, he distanced himself from his own creation and said, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that definition. Well, he kind of blended the original alt-right with the far-right, which it turned, because people were turning things around, and people, like in the name of Trump, were doing something. We're doing these like Nazi salutes and stuff, but it was never about that. It was never about that. And everything kind of, the loudest voice, the most radical, the most weird thing basically took over the other voice. So here is the scene from Inglourious Bastards. We know, here is Goebbels, he's the most famous political PR guy ever. He even did a speech by himself, so it wasn't just Adolf making speeches, called Sports Palace Speech, where he basically said, do everything for the country, to the point, even kill yourselves. It was pretty extreme. Yeah.
Fascism was not religion, it was fascism.
Right. So one of the things you point out in your piece is that while Donald Trump is certainly, brought fascism back into full fury, through his critics, but George Bush, Mitt Romney, have all been, labeled with the F word.
So what? Just because somebody is on the right, they're a fascist?
And so, why is this the label that the left sort of...
In fact, the original fascists were on the left. Talking about Mussolini, we're talking about, the National Socialist Party.
Seizes on. I know it was a favorite word of Stalin's to apply to anybody that he opposed. What do you see in Trump that may make people think he's, is there any validity to this at all?
Well, there are some aspects that are similar. I mean, there is a reaction against the mass immigration and a kind of...
And to be honest with you, like, I'm going to share a personal story to not just make this about news, but when Trump had his first win, when he became president for the first time, there were people around me, in circles around me, not necessarily my friends, but people among me who were like, oh my God, how could he? I wish he was dead, they said. I wish he didn't exist. Like, I wish, they basically wish that they could kill him. I'm not even lying about this. And I found that extremely absurd, and I completely condone these kind of thoughts. Like, I don't think it's right for anyone to take anybody else's life. And it doesn't matter if you agree with them or not. Like, even if you say, for example, somebody disagreed with Hillary Clinton, would you want to end their life? What if you disagreed with Obama? Would you want to end his life? Why would anybody wish something so extreme on somebody they don't even know, and somebody who was voted for in a legit way? Like, who is the fascist? Is it the leader, or is it the people? Is it the left, or is it the right?
Of nativism that I think is part of MAGA. It's not...
We're getting these, well, they call them the lefties. They became so extreme at some point where they were being even more fascist than the right.
The defining characteristic, but it's a part of it. The nationalism.
They become so extreme that then they get to the other side. It's like those video games where you move, the Super Mario Brothers, not the linear one with the blue sky, the one with the black background. You go to the right and then you move onto the other side. It's a bit like that.
As opposed to globalism, that has some parallels. And if nothing...
Globalism is another thing. It's about like totalitarian. It's about the world. It's about, things getting bigger and things being controlled by the establishment and industries, special interests, organizations.
Former President Trump, as we know, won the election against Vice President Kamala Harris.
Okay, wait, did she say former President Trump? Because this is from Fox LA 1 year ago. Oh, maybe he was voted less than a year ago.
Former President Trump, as we know, won the election against Vice President Kamala Harris this week. There's been a reaction from all...
This was from when he just won the second time.
Over the country. Fox 11's Gina Silva joining us live in studio with more. Gina?
Absolutely.
Here we have reactions. To be honest, I don't want to play this too much in case there's music in the background and there's like copyright strikes, but it just shows people like
immigration policy
going...
Trump is necessarily the best candidate, but when we look around...
I like how you guys were making everything that we were...
Meanwhile, this...
The president to the sky.
So a lot of reactions of people having absolute meltdowns. So let's have a look. So here we have like a picture of Trump on YouTube and they're talking... Well, they put fascism on his forehead. Like
the German people were encouraged through the extortions of government and through the press to invest and to save, with that money then being redirected to rearmament.
So that's the thing. Germany had it so bad, like, okay, after World War I, where they had to take absolute accountability for themselves. And one would argue, how did they rearm themselves so quickly? This is one of the biggest questions I have, okay? And apparently through a lot of hardship and through a lot of effort, but they didn't have it good. And a lot of people are saying, oh, they started World War II and stuff like that. Some people within, let's say, Germany had it better, but other people had it worse. So on average, everyone suffered. And I'm not just talking about the killings.
And this ideology extended all the way down to scrap metal. In 1938...
And let me talk about the Italians as well. Mussolini was hanged at the end. But aside from that, this whole thing, came from Italy. Italy, at the beginning, invaded Greece without permission from the National Socialists. And Italy found it hard to attack Greece through Albania and through the West Coast. And it's like the stories of Captain Corelli's mandolin. So basically, at the end, Italy needed a bit of help from Germany, from the German forces, to take over Greece, which actually delayed World War II. But at the beginning, while Italy and Germany were together as both fascists, the irony is that Italy, like from Il Duce, like Mussolini, from him being, for example, Hitler's best friend, and from the National Socialists in Germany taking the ideals of fascism from the Italians, in the end, they were hated more by the National Socialist Germans because they took initiative and because they delayed the war. And for being best buds, then they were hunted more. They became Germany's biggest enemy, and they were hunted by Germans, even though they were on the same side. And a lot of people hid them away. Anyway, let's have a look.
It was ordered that all metal garden fences were to be taken down and handed over to the Nazis. Signposts were even replaced with wooden ones, which also contributed to a shortage in paper too. The Hitler Youth was mobilised to search cellars and attics for anything metal, even old rusty keys. Local community groups came together to search for scrap. This shows how powerful the ideology was, that it was the Germans' patriotic duty, in Evans's words, to be active in pursuit, to be an active part of the Volk, part of the national organism. Authoritarian, wartist expansion, disastrous at worst.
All right, here we have an article from Real Clear Investigations. It's a really interesting site. I urge everyone to have a look at this site at least once in their life. And over here it says, fascism is on the march. Mentions of the term have skyrocketed ever since Trump emerged from the land of chandeliers. Fascist mentions on cable reached unprecedented levels in the run-up to the 24 election. Now, almost anything Trump does, from cracking down on illegal immigration to proposing construction of a victory arch, is seen by the Washington Post and others as fascist. You've probably seen all those things by, what's he called, John Oliver and Stewart. Yep. They all call him fascist. We've all seen those SNL references. I mean, even Elon Musk was calling Trump a fascist, and not just that, even a PDF with the Epstein files. But then you see Musk, getting together with Trump and going on all these flights to China for investment.
The left took fascism from the left-wing column and moved it into the right-wing column. The original fascism was a phenomenon of the political left. It was explicitly socialist, hence the name Nazi. And this wasn't just Hitler using the term. The Nazis have a platform. It's state control of the banks, education, industry, the media. It's the left.
Sounds a lot like globalization. And, we're talking about globalization, which is like the New World Order, like extreme capitalism. We're talking about like oligopolies, then monopolies, and what's going on? Like in the military-industrial complex, there's only like a few companies like Raytheon and what are the other ones? Like DuPont and Lockheed Martin. Like, what's going on? Like, even fuel companies can be counted on one hand. Like, globalization and totalitarian is close to what we're living now. And the EU putting such restrictions with tax on their own people and pushing towards funding the industrial military complex, despite all the expenses we have today and the hardships and the restrictions. Over here in the EU, we look at other countries which have it way better. Less tax or no tax in some circumstances. Products are cheaper. People even import things from other countries and still have it cheaper. And we're like, what is going on here? Who is living in the totalitarian state? Who is living under a dictatorship? Who is being oppressed? What are they doing to you? What are they doing to us? Why is this thing happening? Are people even capable of questioning what is going on? Because we live our daily lives too busy to work our jobs and everything that we can't even have time to make a CV, to even apply for a better job. We are turned into zombies.
Wing agenda. So the Nazis, the fascists, they saw themselves as on the left. Everybody recognized that this was a phenomenon of the left. However, after World War II, people saw the starving, emaciated figures coming out of the concentration camps. The progressive intellectuals who dominated American academia realized that their own views were suspiciously close to those of Mussolini and not all that far from those of Hitler. They realized we have
oh damn, they got us figured out.
To redefine fascism and Nazism, to remove our association with it. Now you have the utterly bizarre phenomenon where somebody can go up to Benjamin Netanyahu and call him a Nazi.
There you go. There you go. That says it all. That says everything. It goes to show that it doesn't matter if you're left or right, you can be a fascist. They're calling Netanyahu a fascist. And I think at this point, it's pretty undeniable that anybody who starts wars and everything, we're talking like Netanyahu or the characterization of Trump. I mean, actually, that is not the real terminology of starting wars. You know, the whole thing is about the youth. It's about making your country better. It's like some nationalist identity pride over here. And let me just share this. Over here is a book, The Fascists, A History of Ancient Rome's Most Dangerous Political Symbol. So we've talked about fascism, but we haven't really talked about the actual thing. What is it? What is a fascist? F-A-S-C-E-S. It's basically an axe with these wooden things around it so that people can't break your axe's wooden stick or metal stick or whatever. It's extra protection. Like who can break this? It's like unbreakable. It's like Bruce Willis from that movie, Unbreakable. So here's the fascist and here is this thing over here. So that's enough for fascism for now. I hope you found that insightful. I'm just going to talk about a very few things and wrap it up. So we're going to be talking about Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden.
Son, Hunter Biden, is working to rehab his public image online, creating another headache for...
All right, so when Trump was voted in the second time, Joe Biden, like the same day, pardoned his whole family for whatever wrongdoings they could have done. Apparently, Hunter Biden has a history of wrongdoings, talking like from drugs to a laptop with a Pelosi or something like that. Nancy Pelosi. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. Let's have a look.
For Democrats already dealing with this Jill Biden book tour. Senior White House correspondent Peter Ducey is live from the North Lawn of the White House. Hey, Peter.
Jackie, rehab the public image. Does that mean maybe seek public office? There is no exploratory committee. All that we've got is an LFG. Look at this X post. That is what Hunter Biden wrote in response to a X user who posted a hypothetical 2028 head-to-head matchup between Hunter Biden and Vice President J.D. Vance. LFG, of course, is short.
So is Hunter Biden going to run for president?
He's on social media now, and
what is this? The Middle Ages, where we're getting people like in the same family, like this nepotism to like run constantly for presidents and stuff, like the Bushes or like other people in other countries. It means that these things are actually rigged. Like, how can people vote like within the same families?
He has suggested, maybe joking, I don't know, that he could run for president in 2028.
We're talking about Hunter Biden, you know, a drug user.
How would he do, Hunter Biden, in a 2028 Democratic primary?
Well, you would think that, you know, past has something to do with winning an election, and I would say his past is not the greatest. Where's Hunter? Remember my Where's Hunter? It became the #1 shirt anywhere in the world for about 3 weeks.
Really?
I'm not going to say bad. I'm sure, you know, hey, if the...
I mean, Trump talks shit about his dad. Okay, here's Hunter Biden's X page.
It's about art.
He talks a lot about his like drug rehab stuff, like he was convicted about money or something like that. But apparently he's guilty, but he was pardoned and stuff like that. Let's just move on. Over here, we're having sites. Hunter Biden signals.
Someone was like, I'd vote for you, Hunter, even if you're sober, which is great. I would require at least one crack joke campaign ad to pledge my loyalty. And Hunter says, how about let's take another crack with a Biden? So good.
He's really winning me over. He's.
Oh my God. Oh no. Oh no. It's kind of like, imagine RoboCop, the first film with all those like those drug dealers in RoboCop, and them becoming president. Like, what is wrong with this world? Exactly. Dark ages.
Have loving Hunter Biden on my 2026 bingo card, but that is where we're at right now, at least tentatively. We'll see what everybody thinks. So MAGA, as folks know, has spent years raging about Hunter Biden and something about a laptop, I guess. But now, apparently, he is winning at least some of them over. But
very concerning.
Blowing and not getting nearly enough attention from the mainstream media. Thousands of Albanians are taking to the streets to protest over the past week, not against their own government, but against Donald Trump's daughter, Ivanka Trump, and her husband, Jared Kushner. Ivanka and Jared Kushner are making a move to buy an Albanian island for a few $1 billion. And then,
so I reported on this in the last live stream. Last week, I reported that Ivanka Trump and her husband, Jared Kushner, are investing on this Albanian island. And this video is from 3 days ago. You know, we reported on this before that, but
and turn it into their own long ago protected.
But what's kind of interesting
has been trying to long treat it as their own.
Hunter Biden reported on this
heritage. They love this island. So thousands and thousands of people are covered. But Albanian prosecutors have now opened a corruption inquiry into how that land lost its protected status. The corruption here is staggering. And
it's hilarious how I reported on this like a week ago and Hunter Biden posts about it like 4 days ago. And he's very active on X, apparently.
Any other drug that I've ever
He looks like Negan from The Walking Dead. I am Negan.
experienced.
Hunter Biden details his drug use and addiction struggle.
Oh no, he's a victim. Poor guy, we should help him out and become president.
One that could threaten a presidency. At its center is a laptop.
This was from 3 years ago, so I'm not going to get too much into it because we have to move on. Here's a video from Asmongold, which is pretty funny.
Crash outs, he's spam replying under his tweets. Wait, what? What is this? Trump hasn't made a public appearance in 8 days. This is after the unscheduled visit to the hospital. My brother in Christ, he's speaking in the Oval Office right now. That's clearly a... Oh. Seriously, Pete, do you not see that this is a clone? Hunter Biden versus Eric Trump in the octagon. Hunter Biden says, I'm in. Why are you not in prison? Because I got a pardon. We know. Everybody knows this. Oh my God, self-reported. There's a video of you snorting coke off a hooker's ass, Hunter. Let me ask you a question, Mike. If I'm telling you I smoked crack, why in the world would I lie about snorting it? There's plenty of pictures of me smoking crack, doing all kinds of stupid things with all sorts of people, rarely with clothes on, but not snorting cocaine. Guys, I only have one word for this, and you're not going to like it. Presidential. I told you guys. Yeah, retards versus a crackhead. That's right. And I know this might sound crazy. I legitimately think that Hunter Biden probably will have more bipartisan support
I've ever done in my life. And
let's fucking go.
Oh my God, that's what LFG means. Oh my goodness. I'm just going to talk about a few things and then wrap it up. Oh my God, exactly.
For fuck's
Okay, that's actually an ad. What? This is an ad and they're using the F word. This is sponsored. What on earth? All right, anyway. All right, now to move on to something else. SpaceX, IPO. Now, anybody in media thinks that IPO is like a series of video games, a series like TV or movies or books, like Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones. Doesn't have to be medieval. Could be like Horizon, like on the PlayStation. Could be like The Last of Us. Could be like, what's it called? Uncharted. It's a series of anything. However, in this sense, from CNBC, it means initial public offering. And that is when a company decides to make all its value into shares and be available on the stock exchange for people to invest in it, for the company to get lots of money, and for investors, well, to make profit. That's their goal. However, it doesn't actually mean that they will profit. It might go up, it might go down, anything will happen. But everybody thinks, oh, it's Elon Musk, it's SpaceX, it's gonna go up. Newsflash, did you see that rocket blowing up like a couple of weeks ago? It just blew up. That's your money. That's your money going out of there. In fact, there were some times that Elon Musk almost went bankrupt because I think back in the day, they launched the satellite for Facebook, for Zuckerberg. And guess what? It blew up. It blew up. Like they had an issue with it. It didn't work. And that was a lot of money going down the toilet, kind of like skibbity toilet, but we're not talking about such degenerate things on this channel. So basically, a lot of people are saying a lot of money that would have gone on Bitcoin or shares or anything like that, even oil, is going on this SpaceX thing. SpaceX shares. I am not advertising this. I am definitely not advocating this. I just know that Elon Musk is a pro when it comes to manipulating the masses on X to get people to invest in things, be it Bitcoin, be it Doge, be it Tesla, be it whatever.
Getting some news on SpaceX this morning. One prominent senator now calling for an IPO delay. Our Eamon Javers has that for us. Eamon.
IPO delay to make more money, get more people in it.
And 12-page letter here, heavily footnoted.
Yeah, good morning, Carl. This is a letter from Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren to the Commissioner of the Securities and Exchange Commission, asking the commission to delay Friday's SpaceX IPO, citing investor protection concerns. Elizabeth Warren, in this letter, citing a number of factors she says warrant
get rid of Elon.
A delay in the IPO, including the company's valuation. She says market analysts have raised concerns about the math underlying SpaceX's target valuation. She raises concerns about governance.
Ooh, maybe they valued the company a bit higher than they should. Over here, another article. Ahead of the largest IPO in history, retail investors are quietly turning bearish on SpaceX. Boom. Take that, Elon. Anyway, let's see what's going to happen, because a lot of sites, they talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk. So what they're saying is not what actually happens. It's kind of like telling the weather, but half the time you're wrong. All right. Over here, this is an interesting website that I've never been to before. I think it's an Arab website. However, I think it was started in London or something like that. I tried to look up what country it was from. The languages are in English and Turkish, but I don't think it's just about Turkey. They talk about like Gulf countries and investing. Anyway, the title of this article says, SpaceX on cusp of record IPO that could make Musk a trillionaire. Like as if it's not bad enough that he's the richest man on the planet. Musk, if you're out there, just throw me some money. Anyway, it says the same thing. it says that it's the first out of the gates among the tech and AI giants eyeing public markets, with OpenAI and Anthropic expected to follow. Yeah, they're kind of like leeches, like they want to capitalize on everything. Now, moving on from SpaceX, yesterday we have an expert and regarding something else, outworldly. Let's just get through this ad.
Say cut!
I can't skip it yet.
A reporter on the Capitol asked David Grush one direct question. How many kinds of non-human life is the U.S. government aware of? And he answered right into the microphone, with members of Congress standing right behind him. And not...
Let's actually hear him.
Congress.
Let's actually fast forward to the point where he's talking for himself.
Money. He framed this...
Activities. We cannot have one standard for the American people and another standard for the deep state that hide behind the veil of secrecy.
Billions of dollars a year, by his account, moving through programs he says sits outside of normal oversight. And this is where the conversation has really moved over the last few years. A reporter asked how many different non-human species is the government aware of? And here was Grush's response.
So over here to his right is Anna Paulina Luna. Over here, these other people, and we've talked about them before, well, not all of them, but most of them are credible witnesses, be it in Air Force, be it in governments. And they're basically asking the US government to release information regarding secrets of aliens or UFOs. I can't say that better. They've already made the website. Okay, I'll get into this in a second.
I certainly don't have the compendium. It's a continuum from corporeal, bipedal.
Okay, what is this language? Corporeal, bipedal. Bipedal means they walk. Corporeal, just say they have a body. Like, is it necessary? Corporeal? Who says this? Is it legalese? What is this language? Like, corporeal? Have you ever heard anyone say corporeal?
Here was Grush's response.
I certainly don't have the compendium. It's a continuum from corporeal, bipedal type life to...
He doesn't have the compendium. It's like kids saying, I don't have the sticker album.
You know, what I would consider is like sentient plasmoid life, but there are several.
It's more like sentient plasma life. Sentient means they can think for themselves. Plasma, what is it, liquid? Other people online are speculating that it's energy, aliens. So he's basically saying the government has proof. I'm sorry, I'm like interrupting all the time, but let's play that one.
Grush's response.
I certainly don't have the compendium. It's a continuum from corporeal, bipedal type life to, you know, what I would consider is like sentient plasmoid life, but there are several that the US government is aware of.
Corporeal means having a solid physical body. Plasmoid describes something closer to energy than to matter. So in just one sentence, Grush placed the range of life from a walking physical being all the way to a form of intelligent plasma, and he said the government is aware of several. He offered no catalog and no further detail. He simply just...
But why? But why? Why no further detail? Like, what are they going to do to him? Like, what is he afraid of? So this is an important issue that I'm going to raise to you guys. If you're in the government, if you've worked for the government, or even if you don't work for the government, chances are you still know people in the government, or chances are you are never really fully defected, or you're getting a pension from the government. Why is this happening? Why are people doing this disclosure? What is the purpose? Is it the purpose for the everyday person? Like, have you seen Meet the Parents with Robert De Niro, who was an ex-CIA guy? And they're saying, once you're CIA, you're never out of it. Like, once you're in any of these ABCN agencies, you're never like fully out of it. You can still be contacted or anything like that, even for your knowledge or anything like that. My question is is that even though there's a website with all these black and white videos of dots like moving around and stuff like that, what is the purpose of this? Like, I urge everyone to ask yourselves, why? Why is it happening? Why is the government suddenly releasing these things? Like, we can't even see anything, to be honest. Is it a way of distraction? Is it smoke and mirrors? Is it kind of like bait for us to look at this instead of looking at something else? Everybody talks about the Epstein files and that maybe Trump wants some diversion from that. Oh, yes. Well, we have a comment saying, all right, my co-host says, only way to leave is get dispatched, leave but remain an asset, disappear entirely off grid. That's if you're in any of the ABC agencies. So you're either like recruited, you leave, but you're still connected, or you disappear, or there's also a fourth one where they kill you. And that's another one. It's like those missing scientists, right? There's missing scientists, which might have been recruited, or they made them disappear. Someone else says Project Bluebeam. So in conspiracy world theories, Project Bluebeam is a thing whereby there's like a fake alien invasion to control people. You know, we've mentioned this before. It's all about security. Now, I have to be careful about this because it's not factually based and I don't have proof of these things, but it doesn't mean that just because I don't have proof that I can't be a human being and talk about these things with anybody with two brain cells that they can put together. So Bird is saying dispatch has been killed off. Okay. So he also mentions nobody is ever truly an ex-ABC agent, an ex. So you're always in it. So you're kind of stuck with it. I mean, what about Bob Lazar? What about Luis Elizondo? They were all part of the government. What about Ana Paulina Luna? These people are all part of the government. What about the recently deceased Nick Pope? He was ex-MOD of the UK. Like, would you really conceive that if somebody had proof of aliens that they wouldn't have to release, would they ever disclose it to us? Like, unless there's something revolutionary or there's a big announcement, fine. But these breadcrumbs that they're saying they exist, but we can't tell you anything about them. What's up with that? Like, if you knew about it, just say what you know. Why are you saying there's information, but we can't give it to you? What's up with that? It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. I'll just leave this end stream on a final note, and I will just leave it at, think for yourselves what's going on. Do your own research, but think for yourselves. Be very careful at what information is presented to you regarding these weird things. That's right. We've mentioned about Dr. Stephen Greer, who has helped spark the conversation with the Disclosure Project in 2001, where he's warned about this multiple times, where he gets lots of experts together in order to bring out this information. However, we have to be careful of other agendas regarding controlling populations. I mean, we saw that in COVID, right? We saw how they restricted like the whole world to like stay at home. They made everybody not work for a year, like most people, not everybody. But like they brought us so back as if it was some sort of science experiment. I'm not saying that these diseases don't exist. They clearly do. It's just a matter of control. Okay, just be careful of this control because this agenda is going to be on the table. We've mentioned about 9/11. We've mentioned about this economic crisis, this energy thing. Some people are talking about weaponizations of outer space. Is that why they're going to the moon and everything? So I'm going to leave this end stream at that. So thanks for tuning in. Keep watching our videos on YouTube, on Rumble, and on Kick. Leave us a like. Be sure to subscribe. Leave a comment. Be sure to share it with your friends if you like this or if you think anybody else would like this. Also follow us on X, on Instagram, on what else are we on? X, Instagram, Discord, and of course on TikTok. I don't know what happened with our views on our latest videos on TikTok. Like we had good views and then suddenly there's like 0 views. It's something that we'll have to fix. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. And you've been watching the ENDstream. See us on Tuesday when Bird is going to do his ENDstream. And we have a great interview coming up with a professor, with the next professor who was teaching Latin America. So we'll give insights on Cuba and Venezuela, but that's still in the works as we still have to edit it and everything. So thanks for tuning in. It was ENDtv, and you've been watching